Joining me now, First Class Father, Trent Talbot. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, Alec, thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Let's start like this. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
I've got two kids. They are 2.5 and 1.5, and a third on the way.
Wow, congratulations there. You know what you're having? You have an agenda reveal? You're waiting to the end?
Waiting for a surprise.
Wow,
Yep.
very cool. Yeah, that's what we did we have 4. We did that on our third one. We waited till the end. Did you wait with the other 2 or did you know?
I waited for my first, Charlotte, and then the second, I sort of had this fear that I was gonna have nothing but girls, and so I was getting stressed out. So I tested, or we got an ultrasound and had a boy, Titus Alexander, with the second one.
Wow, very cool. So you're gonna break the tie now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, if you could, Trent, please take a second here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, I was a happily practicing ophthalmologist up until 2020 COVID, when I had Charlotte, and when she was born, just everything changed, which happens when you have a child. But she was sleeping in my arms. I'm holding her, scrolling through Twitter, and I stumbled across the trailer for the film Cuties. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a movie that's Netflix film that sexualizes young girls, and it's like 10 to 12-year-old girls, and it made me sick to my stomach, grossed me out, and I just couldn't help thinking about what it'd be like, what that Charlotte's going to be that age before I know it, and that's the world that she's going to be growing up in, and basically just felt something on my heart to push back against what culture is pushing on our kids, and because it's sort of like whenever you get a new car, you see that new car everywhere. When I had Charlotte, I just began to see the indoctrination and the sexualization and the demoralization that our kids are faced with. And it really messed with me for whatever reason. And so I decided to leave my career as an ophthalmologist and start Brave Books. And what we do is we come out with a new children's book that's conservative Christian, that takes on some of these topics that our kids are faced with in culture, and we have kids books about them, and helps parents start a conversation about these issues, whether it's gender reality, the sanctity of life, dangers of communism, honesty, hard work, things like that.
Yeah, I love what you're doing with the series, Trent. I've had several of the authors on the podcast here. Kirk Cameron's been on. I think Dinesh D'Souza did a book with you, right? I believe. Yeah, he's been here. Jack Posobiec, a lot of the guys that really support those kind of values. And you're right. There's an attack not only just on the family unit in this country, but there's an attack and a war on the mind for our kids. And it just seems to be everywhere you turn. I mean, I've driven a lot of Uber over the years. And whenever I get the young girls in the car that play the music through the car and what they're listening to and what they're saying about themselves, and it's just so disheartening to see, especially as a father with a young daughter that's coming up through the pipeline right now. It's there's scary stuff. So it's great to see a resource like this. What has been? I know you could take me through with the Kirk Cameron. I know he got banned from certain libraries, not allowed to go in there. What has been, obviously probably great feedback from the right, but what has been the feedback that you've been getting or the response from the left?
From the left, I mean, yeah, as we've gotten more successful, we've been under more and more scrutiny, and we've had some obstacles that we've had to deal with. We didn't shy away from our beliefs. With our very first book, Elephants Not Birds, we touched on the trans issue, and that's a very sensitive topic to the left. And so we dealt with things like Google shutting us down for a while, Facebook shutting down our ads account, which is a huge source of growth. And so we've had to overcome our share of obstacles, but it's made us stronger. We've just figured out. We've learned a lot over these last 2 years, and all the obstacles have made us stronger. And now we're doing like a nationwide tour with Kirk Cameron, going libraries every weekend, and so we found other ways to get the word out.
Yeah, well, and props to you for what you're doing, because it's so needed right now. There's definitely a void or a space there in our culture for what you're doing. I think the timing couldn't be better for you guys to be coming on right now. And I know that, I know I had, you talk about the transgender. I know I had Governor Ron DeSantis on the podcast here when he passed the Fatherhood Initiative bill. But I know that he took a lot of slack for what they called the Don't Say Gay bill, which never said don't say gay. It was all about keeping this kind of crap out of the classroom of the kindergarten, first, second grade. It seems like that's where the aim is. It seems like at that kindergarten to third grade level, they are making a hard press to get to the minds of those kids and just poison it with all this sexual orientation, gender identity that has no business in the classroom. I'm here in New Jersey, and it is over the top what they're trying to push onto the kids. And it seems like they're very proud of it to be doing it. And they seem to think it's like a great thing, like we're accomplishing something by doing it. But I think we're going to see a lot of bad effects coming from this very soon.
Oh, I mean, we already are. You see the stuff with the trans issue and all of these kids that are regretting their decisions, and it's really, really sad. But it's not only that, it's not only the worst case scenario, it's like all the stuff in between of just you're creating a generation that is so just confused and demoralized and sexualized, and the reason why they're going after the youth, like you said, they're focused on the elementary school is because they're the most susceptible. And so they start as young as they can. And whenever you sexualize kids, it has a ton of different effects. One of which is the one that I'm most passionate about is that it creates a barrier between the parent and the child, because the child starts to have, those realization that of sexuality, and whenever you do that, then it creates secrets, and and they become more distant. They start to have their own identity, and that's a really dangerous thing, because when kids are that young and they're separated, they're not having open conversations with their parents, then they're vulnerable to the effects that we see on culture, whether it's social media, woke teachers, things like that. And so the sexualization of our kids, it's so important, and it creates so many issues that I don't even think that the vast number of people realize.
And it's only coming from one side, Trent. I mean that's the truth. It's only coming from the left side, the Democratic side, that is pushing this stuff onto the kids. And even when you talk to regular like Democrat or left people, they're not all for this at all. Like when you talk to the regular guy on the street that's voted Democrat his whole life, he doesn't believe in pushing this stuff onto the kids. So it's not the majority of the base that believes in it, but it's we're seeing from the media, the way that they portray it, you would think everybody in the country is on board with this, and it's simply not true. And there's already and again, the messaging from the left when it comes to family is kids don't belong to their parents; they belong to the whole community. And obviously on the right, it's about family, it's about values, it's about faith, and those things ring more true towards the core values in this country. But I truly believe that the fact that so many dads have been missing from the family units, and we have a fatherless crisis, I think that's really the key to solving so much of the trouble that's going on in our country right now. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree completely. Men have a distinct role in the family unit, and they also have a distinct role in society, in my opinion. And it's typically the men that that historically have shown the courage to stand up and call out things that need to be called out, and to protect their kids and to protect the kids in the community. And I think that we need more men to stand up and fight for our kids, because our kids need us very badly.
Yeah, well said. Now, are you planning on, or if you, I don't know if you have, excuse me if I'm not sure, but do you have a video component for these books coming online? Do you have something that could be getting to the streaming sources where you're going to have cartoon versions of these books? Is that something like that in the works, or is that already out?
It's not out. It is in the works though. So our sort of stepwise phases that we're approaching that is, we're starting off with picture books, so the 4 to 10-year-old range. And then we're currently working on some chapter books, some middle grade chapter books, as well as young adult novels. And then after that, then we're going to get into our TV show or movies, whatever. But we definitely want to see this on screen, and we will. But we want to do it right, and that's a big process. And you really only have one shot with that, so we want to come correct.
Yeah, well, I hope that that you do, because we definitely need that content on our streaming services. Just from having my kids, if you sit down and actually watch what they're watching on Disney Plus or what they're seeing on YouTube, and you sit there and watch it, you're like, whoa, 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 let's turn, and so many kids in our country are going unchecked with what they're watching. They have such easy access to the screens and to all this streaming stuff that, you can put them in front of it, walk away and do what you're doing, and they're full on getting attacked. And it's terrible what's going on there. So how about bringing it back into you as a father here? Are you reading the Brave books to the kids here? What does your bedtime routine look like? Does it include a Brave book at night?
Of course. Yeah, my daughter is obsessed with them. She's only 2.5, and typically we say it's best for 4 to 10-year-olds, but she loves them, and she's actually been able to follow along what's going on. So I don't know how familiar you are with our Brave books, but we've got one character. His name is Blackheart. He is like the main villain. And so she is just obsessed with that character and always talking about, she likes to come and scare me and pretend that she's Blackheart. So it's been a lot of fun to see like ideas from, 2 years ago to make it to the books and then get into her mind and her imagination. It's been really awesome. But yeah, Brave books are a staple in our routine. We also have a story Bible that we read, and just making sure that she's hearing truth, and we sing, and yeah, bedtimes are a special time. It's just it's so sweet. The kids are starting to get tired. They're drinking their bottles, and they're not running around for once. So that's my favorite time of day.
Yeah, I have the one here with Robby Starbuck. I had him on the podcast when he did it. And one thing is that the illustrations are phenomenal in the book, too. So I think, like I said, overall, you guys have done it. Is there a certain author, a certain guy out there, or a certain gal out there that you guys have on your radar, I'm sure, that you're trying to get in there to write a book for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got, man, as we're getting bigger, more and more people want to author a book with us. So it's getting really fun, like the names that are DMing us and reaching out. I don't want to give away any surprises, but yeah, we've got some huge names for 2023, and we're in talks with some maybe even bigger names in 2024.
Wow.
But we've gotten a little bit out of just politics. We're starting to get into just mainline celebrities and Christians, and so that's been really cool as well. Because there is a political aspect to what we're doing for sure, and we do think it's important to cover these political topics, things like freedom and sanctity of life and the Second Amendment, First Amendment. But more than anything, our heart is to just help build a strong generation and strong morality. Morality is instilled by the age of 10, and we really believe that in teaching those lessons, lessons like hard work, honesty, topics like that is something we feel called to do.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I know that. And of course, so many of the people who are non-politicians get their careers just destroyed from coming out and speaking about family values and wanting to strengthen the union. I know guys like Dean Cain, I think, will be a phenomenal guy for you guys, even like Kevin Sorbo, guys like that have seen that kind of backlash. And I get it just from having the guys on the podcast here. So I see it all the time. And it's comical at this point just to see the people get, all bent out of shape over just having a guest on the show. So it's just, it's been ridiculous to see. And then let me see here. You have the new one coming. Does your son and your daughter, are they aware that they're having a little brother or a little sister here? What's kind of been the reaction in the household there? When is the baby due?
Baby's due in June.
Okay, so you got some time.
No, sorry, it's July. You
better get that right. We'll have to edit that.
Yeah. My oldest Charlotte, she is aware. Titus has no idea. I don't know what's going on in his head besides food and yanking his sister's hair, But yeah, it's fun. It's so fun watching the kiddos play with each other, and interact with each other, and seeing that relationship sort of blossom. There's a few things that are sweeter in my mind.
Yeah, very well said. And how about as far as schooling goes? If you guys thought about, had the conversation about what you plan on doing? I know a lot of parents out there right now, some of the discussions is keeping kids out of the public school system, trying to get them into the private school system, Catholic school, or do the homeschooling. Have you and your wife had the conversation? What kind of plans you have for your kids' education?
We've started, we're a few years away from really needing to make a decision there, but we're leaning towards homeschooling up until a point. I don't think we want to homeschool forever, all the way through high school. I think we want to do something, whether it's a co-op or something else, but definitely homeschool for the first few years of schooling.
Yeah, and have you guys been able to get the books available? I know that they do the Scholastic. They have the book fairs at the school. Have you guys been able to break into any of those things? Are the books available in the school systems like that?
We're working on it. It's been more challenging than I would have expected. Scholastic's really got a monopoly on it, but we're working on it. I think that there is a demand. Scholastic's, I don't know if you're familiar, but Scholastic's gone pretty woke recently, and over the past 5-10 years or so. And so I think that there is a demand for a competitor in that space, and we're making some strides there.
I do know, just from going to the bookstore all the time, every time you go to the kids' book section, it's all woke. All the top books that are faced out. I mean, that's all you see, whether you're at Target, whether you're at Barnes & Noble, that's what you see every time you go there. So what a breath of fresh air it would be to see a Brave book right up there next to them, to give parents some options when it's just being jammed down your throat so much. And how about, as far I know that they're young yet, what was your relationship like with your parents, and what kind of discipline style did you grow up with? And is that how you plan on really disciplining your kids as they get older?
Yeah, my parents got divorced when I was 6, and they each had a different parenting style. My mom was more relaxed. My dad was pretty intense. And yeah, but both of them spanked. and yeah, you spare the rod, you spoil the child, and I'm in line with that. I agree with that. And yeah, so that's where we're at. Disciplining a 2.5-year-old is interesting. But I do think you have to start early. And but I try to just communicate and teach first, as opposed to go straight to discipline, at least at this age. Yeah.
It's so funny, Trent, because so many of the guys, almost I'd say 9 out of 10 that I bring on the podcast here, they'll all say that they grew up the same way, getting spanked, getting the belt, getting the whooping, getting the switch. And they all say, "Oh, I don't do that to my kids," And it's I don't know if it's because they're afraid to say that they do, because publicly that's looked at as such a negative thing now. If you spank your kid, you're a bad parent. But all these guys turned out to be very successful, and they all say that it helped shape them into who they are. But meanwhile, they're afraid to do it. And I think that's definitely a conversation. But these are conversations that have to happen with husbands and wives as they enter into marriage, start to have kids, because a lot of times you come from 2 different backgrounds of parenting styles or discipline styles, and then you run into some trouble with that. And I know that right now we need to get our marriages healed in this country as well, because we have so many marriages that are failing, so many relationships that are falling apart. And I hope to God that we could heal that first, because I think if we can get our families tightened up in this country, boy, we wouldn't really have to worry about so much of the other crap that's coming at us. Now, do you guys have any? Are we sticking with the children's, or do you guys? I thought you said you're going into the teenage realm now with some preteen books, stuff like that. Any adult themed, faith-based books, anything like that coming in the future for you guys?
Yeah, our first priority is to create some book content for the preteens and teens. But yeah, we've had some really interesting ideas for adults in the book space. And yeah, we've got a lot going on for sure. Based on our trajectory and just the amount of support that we get, we think that we're onto something really special. And just the idea of, it's 2 things. One, there's such a demand for a brand that parents can just trust. it's like going back to what you were saying about, Disney Plus and all that. And so many parents are worried about letting their kids just sit in front of a screen or read books, with all these woke companies. And there's a need for a company that Christian conservative parents can just trust that they're getting solid, good, strong morality. So that I think that's been the root cause of why we've had so much support. The other thing is we've created an awesome world. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but we've created our own universe and our own cast of characters. And kids are really just falling in love with Freedom Island, Team Brave, even some of our villains, like I was saying, Blackheart. And we're from our subscribers, the people that subscribe to our Book of the Month Club, there's a real desire to see it on screen, to have all the novels. So it's really our subscribers, our fans that are forcing us to go where we want to go.
Yeah, and God bless you for what you're doing. Now, also, too, to let the parents know that are interested, that don't know, where do they go to find it? Where's the best place to send them, and tell them about the subscription-based package?
Yeah, bravebooks.com is the place to go. And our core product is a Book of the Month subscription. And you start at the beginning. You start with our very first book, and you get our second, and on and on. And the vision is that when Christian conservative parents, when their kids hit 4 years old or so, they start the subscription, and the kids grow with it, and the families grow with the stories, and the stories sort of grow with the kids. And we're creating a universe, a brand that parents just feel comfortable letting their kids fall in love with, heroes that parents feel comfortable with their kids falling in love with, knowing that they're not going to go trans or something, And so that's the vision. And we have a new book every single month that teaches a new value, and parents are loving it. Kids are loving it. It's been incredible.
It's a beautiful thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if you have a lot of Democrats on the down low or on the sneak that are getting your books as well. Because as I said, maybe some of the debating topics or political issues we don't see eye to eye, or they don't see eye to eye with the right side. But when it comes down to faith and family and love and success for your kids, I think we're all on board with that. So I'm sure you're seeing that as well. Last thing I want to hit you with here, Trent, I love to ask all the dads that get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
I'd say make it a priority. It's so important, and there's nothing more rewarding than being a father. And so spend that time, and just have fun with your kids. They're a blast if you want to have fun with them. There's endless amounts of fun that you can have with your kids.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. It's been a lot of fun for me. I got to say, Trent Talbot, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you, Alec.